You're listening to Every Day's a Saturday USMC Veteran Podcast.
Now introducing your host of Every Day's a Saturday USMC Veteran, the one-man show, Brian Roof.
What's going on, friends and family? Thank you guys so much for tuning in and watching another great interview. Well, this one's going to be a big-time interview. There's a lot of people on here, and I'm not even going to start trying to introduce all of them, so I'm just going to bring them on and let them all introduce themselves. The main reason we are here is we have Don Mann, and he has a lot of missions going on, and we're here to talk about the mission. And first, we'll go ahead and bring on Don himself, Randy, Donald, Bonnie, Dean, Matt, Ace, and what's going on? Welcome in, everybody. Gosh, we have quite the panel. This is about as many as we can get on, and so thank you so much for everybody joining. Mr. Mann, what's going on? And let's go ahead and get this started.
Hey, Brian. Hey, thanks so much for having us all on. I know it's a big thing to do that, the podcast host to have 10 people on your show. The reason so many of us are on your show is we would like to talk about the mission, which is a new TV show, and it's a new social media thing, but it's it has nothing to do with making money or getting ratings or anything like that. The mission, it's all about helping people. I did this with some bankers, and I had these bankers create this SEAL mission. They didn't know why they were creating this mission. They didn't know the objective yet. And then the next time I saw these bankers, I said, okay, your objective now is to go help somebody, significantly help people by raising awareness or significantly raising funds for this needy group of people. And you choose who those people are. It could be people who've been victims of human trafficking, drug trafficking, people help with animal cruelty, veterans with PTSD. There's numerous groups of people who need help. So these bankers would go out and they would help these people. They'd come back and they'd show this big check, or they'd show these testimonials or these videos of little girls crying because they just got a new dress or a new bicycle, or a lady who was trafficked, human trafficking victim, coming across the border and taken for safety for a couple of weeks and given to a home. I mean, there are some real missions of great significance where our bankers help these people. And what I thought is, this is such a great idea. It's not my idea. It was someone else's idea. But if we could make this a bigger thing and make it bigger so there's more people helping more people, I mean, what can be better than that? My background, you asked me about my background. My background was as just a kid who joined the military. Then I spent some time with the Marine Corps, then went to SEAL Team 1, SEAL Team 2, SEAL Team 6 after 21 years, and then 23 years with the CIA. And I loved all of that. But I tell you, I don't think I've been more passionate about this, because it's actually people helping people. And now the folks we have on the guest with us, they're all here for the same reason. And they all have different passions. They all have different missions. And we just cranked it up a little bit than what I was doing with the bankers, because now there's mission commanders here in front of you who have a real passion for something. And they have a great cause, and they are going to try to, and they will, I know, raise great awareness, great amount of exposure, and a lot of funds for people in need. And that's the point of this, of us all being here with you tonight.
Outstanding. So let's go ahead and we'll have you kind of introduce, who you have brought on, and let them introduce themselves.
Okay. So from my screen, I'll go right to left. Randy is the next person. Randy, his story is emotional. It's heartfelt. When you hear what Randy's gone through and what he's done to help people since then, if you don't feel something in your heart, you're not human. So I'm just going to leave it like that and let Randy introduce himself and maybe talk about his story, if you don't mind, Randy.
No, not at all. Thank you, Don. I really appreciate that. And coming from you, it means a lot, man. I sure appreciate you. Again, I'm Randy Nantz, and it's the uncommon spelling, Nantz. And I'm kind of like Don. I just, was a regular kid, grew up, ended up joining the military a little later in life, though. I wish I had joined when I was younger. But I think when I got up, there just wasn't a real focus on it. So I graduated in like 1986, which seems to be like our golden years point, and it wasn't until September 11th. And it happened, and that day, just like many of us in this country, changed me forever. And I was 33 at the time, and I had two a 1 and a 5-year-old. And, I was in a sales job that I was either going to get fired or quit soon. And my ex-wife, we were still married, of course, at this time, had a job in gas and oil well drilling. So that thing tanked for 2 or 3 years after September 11th. And so we knew we were going to have to do something. And I'd always wanted to join, and I probably, like I said, I should have. I just never did. But I was the kid, my dad had to stop telling me to play Army when I was about 15. So you can't be doing that anymore. That's for younger kids. It's time to grow up. But I came in after September 11th and went to basic training. I ended up in 3rd ID with 27 Infantry, which was one of the units that led basically from Kuwait all the way to Baghdad, certainly all the way to Baghdad International. And then we took a back seat to 2nd Brigade. But it was a very physically and demanding tour for me, but I was only a private, so I didn't have a ton of responsibility, but I definitely had a watch and guard duty, and there was a lot of movement involved through that whole 3-week process. And it was there that I decided when I went back that I was going to go out to try to be a Green Beret. And so I went to selection pretty much within a couple of months. Well, within a couple of months, I took the PT test. I went to selection and got selected and went all the way through the Q course and graduated and went to 5th Special Forces Group at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. And then I redeployed. So I was in OIF 1, Operation Iraqi Freedom 1, the initial invasion. By the time I got back, it was the end of OIF 3, moving into OIF 4. And this was late in 06, August of 06, and right before the push. And, honestly, that it was kind of like the smell of defeat was in the air. The insurgency was really ramped up at that time. And there wasn't anybody out at night, except us and the bad guys. And when I say us, I mean special operations guys. Your conventional forces, some of them never left. Once they got there, if they weren't on convoy duty, they never left whatever duty they had there the entire year they were there. So it was a little different scene than when the initial invasion, and the whole landscape had changed. Unfortunately for me, December rolled along, and we were on a very important mission that we were going on. That there was one of the bigger elements in the middle of Baghdad that was setting up a bunch of the IEDs and these things called EFPs, which is a shape charge basically, and has a copper round. And so my vehicle drove in front of one of those, and when it came through the vehicle, initially I didn't even know what had happened. It did make me unconscious, but I think I was discombobulated quite a bit. I do know I was looking to my left, and they had built a roadblock. And I know the Iraqis built it just by looking at it. It was rubble and trash. And so I was marking it on my map, so we knew. So when we came back to do the mission, we would have a clean route in and out. And right about then, the map was gone, my pen was gone. And, long story short, that led me on this long journey of recovery, because it takes a long time like that, because now I was burned 22% of my body. I'm a legitimate half-ass now, because I'm missing 50% of both cheeks from where this thing went by. So luckily for me, it only grazed me, because there's quite a few of the people that survived this thing, And the EFPs, I think, killed somewhere around 973 Americans and wounded, roughly 2,500 more. And I'm on the good end of the spectrum of being wounded by one of these things. A lot of guys I know are missing both legs, and they were lucky to survive it as well. So that led me to what I do now, which is I work with what's called the Adaptive Training Foundation, and that is a gym that was started to help disabled folks. It's a pretty big gym here in Dallas, and it's about to get bigger the next couple of years. But there's no public membership. You can't walk in and sign up and buy a membership. You have to be disabled. So we're roughly probably 50% veterans and 50% civilians, because that's what gets you into this club, is being a disabled person. And basically what we do in a quick short is everybody walks in that door with this long list of things they can't do anymore, that the doctor told them, their families told them, and they've even told theirself, And so when they walk in, we don't feel sorry for them. We still hold them to a very high standard, and we help them and walk beside them over a 9-week training program to erase that list. Now there's certain level of spinal cord injuries. There's going to be some things you're never going to do again. We can't get around, but anything short of that, we help people take their lives back when they feel like now, because I'll admit it, I still to this day, I don't like to say I'm disabled. It just is a negative connotation to me, and I don't like it. And I don't like to admit that. But every night when I go to bed, I have to take my leg off. And when I wake up in the middle of the night, I only got one leg. So that's reality. And so that's, I'm sorry I went a little long, but that's kind of my story in a real short crunch. And I'll pass it back to Don.
Appreciate you, Randy. And Don wasn't kidding when you'd be touched by your story. I was over in the region the same time as you as well. But man, I appreciate you, brother.
During the initial invasion, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. I was over
there.
Yeah, I was over there, and I went to Camp Commando, which was in Kuwait, and I went over there in January of 2003, and then March 8th is when the shit really popped off for us. Yeah.
Well, I was in Camp Pennsylvania to start going back that far, but then when 101st came in, since I was in 3rd ID and we had all the vehicles, they kicked us out. So we just made a big alpha, and really at that point we were probably 8 miles from the Iraqi border. When I guess for us was March 19th when we rolled across the berm of Iraq and Kuwait.
Yep. All right, Don.
Well, yeah, and Randy, and I'm sorry that's so limited time for everybody to give such great detail, but Randy is now, since he was injured, he's been only given back, and Randy's going to be a mission commander. And on my screen next is Dean. Dean and I have worked together for years ago. And Dean was a Master Chief, the #1 Master Chief in the Navy. And I think Dean is probably the most patriotic man, good person, God-giving, give the shirt off your back in a heartbeat, even if he doesn't know you, person I've ever met. And so I'm so happy when Dean was working with a veteran group that he put together. And when I knew I was going to start putting together a mission, Dean was actually the first person who came to my mind, because I know how given he is and how big his heart is to help veterans. And this is Master Chief Dean Joyce.
So this mission purpose started for me, quite a few years ago when I was still on active duty. Hey, look, I had an amazing military career. And we're going from, bottom line is that we're going from some old backwoods redneck guy from North Carolina who went in the Navy right out of high school and was able to do, and able to serve, 30 plus years in the military and do some amazing things because of the mentorship and leadership that I was able to serve with, while I was in the service. And if I had to do it over again, I really don't think that I could because of the mentorship I had along the way. But hey, look, like I said, this mission started for me a long time ago, and you guys will understand. But I started a nonprofit a few years ago called Reach 22, and it's to be able to go out and reach the 22 veterans that we lose on average every day to suicide. you know, and it really hit me when, you know, my very best friend that I had when I was on active duty, who was the Force Master Chief of the Seabees at the time, a guy by the name of Jimmy Fairbanks. Jimmy went into the military at a very young age. You know, right out of school, he joined the Marine Corps in 1970. Did a couple of tours of Vietnam, got out for a while, came back in. When he came back into the Navy and joined the Navy Seabees. And anyway, he went on to, like I said, he had an amazing career. Went on to be the Force Master Chief of the Seabees. And roughly about 6 months before Jimmy was due to retire, you know, Jimmy committed suicide. And man, that rocked me to the core. And you know, that it was really at that point that I knew that I really had to do something to go out and at least try to make a difference. So, you know, this mission for me is, you know, is about trying to be able to give back to those veterans that are suffering and feel like that they don't have any other alternative out there other than suicide. So I currently work for a company now called Blue Metric Group. We were Blue Metric Group, and now are you know, Streamside Parks. We acquire RV parks around the United States. So, you know, they've partnered with me to put cabins and RVs in place at all of our different RV parks to allow veterans a place to, you know, escape to if they feel that they have nowhere else to go. You know, to kind of recover, relax, recoup, you know, and rebuild themselves at these RV parks that we have. And our mission is to build a cabin at every RV park that we have to be solely dedicated to veterans who feel like that they have nowhere else to go. You know, in addition to those folks, to those veterans that are, you know, that feel that way, it's also to try and help the veterans and the veteran families who are currently homeless. Because homelessness is a much bigger issue than just housing. You know, I've talked to a lot of veterans out there that are struggling and on the street and that are homeless. You know, and it's, like I said, it's a much bigger issue than housing. You know, they can't get housing because they don't have an ID. They can't get an ID because they don't have housing. They can't get housing because they don't have a job. They can't get a job because they don't have an address. They can't, you know, so it's a vicious cycle that they get stuck in. So, you know, it's the mission to provide them, you know, a temporary living facility and a place to go to where they can actually have a physical address so that they can work on getting on their feet and reestablishing themselves while they're recovering, and eventually try and apply to long-term sustainable employment and a better life for themselves and perhaps their families as well, to help get them off the street. So, I mean, that's the major cause of, like I said, the mission of what it is that we're trying to do. So we'll be out there trying to, like I said, place cabins and build cabins at all of our RV parks and trying to do fundraising in order to do exactly that. You know, build these cabins at all of our different RV parks and with that exact intent. So.
Thank you, Dean. Thanks. Thank you very much. Bonnie came to my house with her daughter, Becca, and she works with law enforcement specialists, and she is on a mission with Matt. And Bonnie just came off of her mission, and she was the first to attack this. I mean, as far as the mission goes, she was the first. She was the first to go after it, and she had a very successful mission. And so this is Bonnie Lucas.
Gosh, I don't even know where to begin. Without going back too far, I just basically walked by faith. I was set up very well by my parents. My dad was a World War II vet, and he served as commander for the VFW for many, many years in Black Canyon City, local city here in Arizona. And my mom worked with fire for many years. She sat on the fire board and helped, retain firemen for their small community. And when I had the opportunity to go into business 30 years ago to work with police officers, I was like, yeah, let's do this, And it's been a very rewarding experience for me. Like I said, I walk by faith. 5 years ago, I decided I thought I needed a charity. So we opened True Blue Foundation, and it's forevertrueblue.org. And this is basically just to serve police. or law enforcement individuals. And it's basically to help them achieve and meet the goals and dreams that they want to achieve. A lot of them love being police officers. And of course, we know what's going on in, today's society with, all the ridicule that's going on, and they just don't feel like they're rewarded as much anymore. So when Don came to me about this mission, I'm like, oh, heck yeah. In a heartbeat, we wanted to do this. So I got together with Kyle Reyes and talked to him for a little bit. And, we were running some ideas, back and forth. And we decided to come up with the hog hunt in Texas. So we named it Wild Pursuit, LE. And Matt's on board. Matt's on our team. And gosh, he had all the connections. I mean, it just all fell right into place. And we just got off our mission about 2 weeks ago. And I mean, it was the best week of my life. Unbelievable. These officers, I talk to officers on a regular basis. I see them, I know them, but there's always that brick wall. And we just, they build that up over time, and it gets thicker as they get older. But what we saw that week was just a miracle. I mean, nothing short than a miracle, because all those walls came down, and I just got to meet real people, and they're just like you and I, and they're just fabulous people. And I cannot tell you how much fun we had, and there was no rank. And I think that's a big difference, because there's the command staff, and then you've got the officers, and they don't always get along. and we had command staff, and we had just regular officers there, and it was just like there was no rank, and it was just a beautiful thing.
Outstanding.
Bonnie, thanks. And it was such a pleasure meeting Bonnie. She has that fire in her heart to make things happen. But I didn't know Matt Thomas. I didn't know him, but I knew a person he worked for, Sheriff Mark Lamb, who on Fox News they call him the America's Sheriff. He's an incredible person. And Mark came out in one of the shows that we do called Surviving Man, and Mark was a co-host, and we all fell in love with him. I mean, true blue American patriot, running for senator, and we're thinking, who in the world would not vote for him, But I asked Mark before I met Matt, electronically. I asked Mark, I said, Mark, would you be interested in doing this with us? He said, I'd love to, but I'm running for Senate and I'm doing all these other things. But someone better than me, someone more qualified than me, someone who would do better than me would be Matt Thomas. And I wrote to Matt, and I asked Matt if he'd be interested. And my God, Matt jumped right on it. And we're asking everybody to send a video so we can start cataloging everybody's missions and who they are. Matt sent me a video. And Matt, I didn't tell you this, but that almost brought a tear to my eye, because, man, you felt it. And your passion is so palpable. As soon as I saw your video, I sent it to the TV director and producer. I said, you got to check this video out. That's what the mission means, is what Matt video shows. That's what this mission's all about. So Matt and Bonnie were on the same mission. So this is Matt Thomas. He's just retiring, by the way.
Not yet. I still got a little bit of time. I just hit year 31 with the Pinal County Sheriff's Office here in Arizona. So I've been at it for a while. And so the sheriff walked in one day and he said, hey, Don, and I knew who Don Mann was. I didn't know Don personally, but I knew who he was. And I've got some good buddies that are former team guys and different generation of team guys, but nonetheless, I know what those guys are like and how they're built. And so the sheriff spoke very highly of Don, and he said, hey, would you be interested in this thing? And it's with Don. And I said, absolutely. And it wasn't until later, Bonnie and I knew each other, but we didn't know that we were both in on this thing until later in the game, which ended up being great. And so, sheriff's office for 31 years. Real quick, I'll do my background. I've done a lot. I've been blessed. I've had a great career. I worked in our jail. I worked patrol. I worked undercover. I was on our SWAT team for 18 years. Did motors. So I just did a bunch of stuff. I have ADHD is more, the reason that I bounced around more than anything, because I needed new challenges all the time. But when Mark Lamb got elected in 2016, I was a lieutenant. I was over our SWAT team, anti-smuggling, and our narcotics guys. And Mark reached out to me and said, hey, I know we don't really know each other, but your name keeps popping up and I know of you. And would you be interested in being my second in command? And I said, yeah, absolutely. Because I knew of him and I knew the kind of person he was. And so in 2017, I moved into his XO position as his second in command and been there since. And yeah, so that's it for my career piece. And then as we get into this, and obviously a career of 31 years, I've lost a few friends and I've seen a few things and been treated, sometimes good, sometimes bad. They love us, they hate us. And so with that, losing the friends was one of the main driving forces when Don got a hold of me. I'm really passionate about just helping other officers. I've seen, just like the veterans facing suicide, it's a thing in our career as well. And I think for a lot of the same reasons, quite frankly, the things they see, the people they deal with, the way society treats them. So when we got presented with this mission, and especially once I knew Bonnie was in, and my sheriff loves Bonnie, and I have grown to love Bonnie. She has such a servant's heart, and it just happens to be a servant's heart towards law enforcement specifically, which makes it even better for us, right? And so when we got this mission going, Bonnie told me, here's the outline of, kind of what we want to do. And I'm super passionate about helping my fellow officer. And I too, I have a servant heart. I'm a man of faith. And I think that really as a leader, it is my responsibility to leave it better than I got it, and to have some sort of legacy of leadership. And so with that, I wanted to jump in on this because I wanted to be able to pour into the profession and touch some people's lives that are in this profession so that they can pay it forward, because I knew this was the type of event that would cause that type of chain reaction. And so we went out to Texas. I have a friend out there that has a ranch. And so I knew we had that connection. And you want to talk about some God stuff, man. For me, being a man of faith, things just started falling in place as soon as we started asking people on this whole adventure. We knew we needed this, we needed that, and I would reach out, and it would just fall. Yeah, we'll help. And I think that was one of the key pieces for our mission. Looking back, our officers that came, we had a sitting sheriff that was with us. We had some line level officers. We had some mid-level supervisor that was part of it. And so it was a good mixture of all ranks. And like Bonnie said, it wasn't about rank when we went there. It was that we were all cops, and it was a little bit of a break from the normal action, a break from their families, the job, to just hang out, have some fellowship, enjoy ourselves, make some new connections, pour into one another. We had some great conversations, and we just wanted them to have a first class treatment. And Bonnie took care of that from the beginning. Like, that's the one thing. These guys, at the end of it, they just said, man, it was the Ritz-Carlton of missions. So we just treated them first class from the time they showed up till the time they left. And so that was it. I think mission accomplished, because at the end of this, we had such positive feedback that I think Bonnie has decided this is going to be an annual mission for us.
Excellent.
Love it.
Thanks so much, Matt. Thank you very much. And on my screen, it says Sethifer, but really what that is, it's Jennifer, Dr. Jen, and Dr. Seth, who've become very, very dear, close friends of mine. And we work together on the other show that we work on. And they've been such a big part of it. They're the biggest part of the whole show, actually. But Jen and Seth have come on to do a mission, and they're working with Wayne, who I didn't invite on this. I figured with his 35 boats and being all over the world, I'd hate to bother him with all the emails I'm bothering everybody with. But Jen and Seth are working with Wayne, and I'm so glad you guys got on tonight. So this is Jen and Seth. Dr. Jen and Dr. Seth, who are also both attorneys and both doctors.
Wow.
Overachievers, to put
Little
it mildly.
overachievers, yeah.
I think we're just a lot like Matt. We both have ADHD, and we just get bored and just keep going.
I don't have ADHD.
Okay, well, I do. I have it. Yes.
Yeah, you got enough for both.
You know, it's funny. I was in line once. We're both former military, and I was behind this general, and he had every special skills badge known to man, things that I had never even seen. And I just looked at him and I said, "Sir, I think you have every patch there is. I think you've done everything." And he's like, "Well, I just never say no." And I think that kind of summarizes us. And, you know, we've had a few years to accumulate some accomplishments, but I'll just start with my background. You can talk about yours and we'll talk about our mission. But so I feel like I've had an entire lifetime of service, and I'm always looking for ways to continue that. I started off in the Naval Reserve as soon as I turned 17 and horrified my parents, and did that for 8.5 years. Well, I was a medic. I worked mountain rescue and ski patrol and EMS and other things. And eventually went to college and became a police officer while I was working my way through college. And at some point went to law school, went back into the military as an airborne JAG and military judge. It was actually where I met my husband, Seth. And then I went back and went to medical school. I'm an emergency physician, and now combine both of those as an expert witness. And I would say that some of the most important work I've done so far has been recently, and that has been as an expert witness for some police officers who were in real trouble, facing murder charges that were absolutely unjust, with the entire weight of the state coming after them and the resources that you just can't believe. And we won. So feel very happy about that. And just feel happy about, I've got a lot of irons in the fire with Dunn and other things, just looking for other ways that I can really leave this world a better place and continue to serve.
How would you guys like to go after that? Well, in some ways I feel the same. I feel like my life has really been one of service. In college, I went through officer candidate school in the Marine Corps and through the PLC program. Liked that a lot. And as I was going through college, my desires and my plans changed, and I really wanted to be a physician. And the Marine Corps doesn't have physicians, and I was not particularly interested in being in the Navy. So I ended up in the Army. On my way there, I kind of got through college by living in a fire station. I did that for 3 years. And, you know, there's an interesting relationship between the police department and the fire department. And so I got to know the police department and a lot of the officers really well. And that was really a high point for me. But I went to medical school and graduated medical school in 1988. So I've been a physician for 36 years, long time it seems. I originally did a family medicine residency, and I worked as a very busy Army family doctor. And then I went back and did a second residency in neurology. And since 1997, I've been a full-time neurologist, and I run a neuroscience program in the Pacific Northwest. This mission is very different than some of the missions that have been described up to this point. This I would describe as more of a kind of a community-based, rural, humanitarian type of a mission. Not really with a bent towards anything military or law enforcement, but just by helping really needy people in the countryside of Belize. And Jennifer and I have been to Belize a couple times. We went there once with Mann for a Surviving Man show. And Jennifer and I have really developed a love for the Belizean people. And it's ethnically so diverse, and they all get along well. And so we were really eager to jump on Wayne's project of helping out some people in Belize, building handicap ramps so that they have access to their homes.
Yeah. So what's interesting is Wayne has a big connection with the people down there as well. And as you know, it just was turned over to the Belizean people not long ago. It was an English colony, and he just, for whatever reason, has a lot of ties there. And a lot of the people who work on his boat have told him some of the stories about how difficult it is for the people in their communities that they come from. And so he really wanted to make a big difference for just a few families. And if we're able to accomplish those objectives, then we're also going to move on and build a ramp for a larger facility that needs that. But as physicians, and we both like to build things, I built a huge ninja cage in our garage to train for American Ninja Warrior.
Oh, nice.
Got me on it. They're like, "Do you have building skills?" And I was like, "Yeah, I got skills." So
I have to see pictures of that.
Thanks, Seth. And, I never had the opportunity to really meet Ace, but we had a nice conversation the other night, and she made me laugh. I have a bruise on my lower lip because she asked me if you think I'm worthy of being a mission commander. And then I saw her long list of skills and everything she's done in her life and all the people she would like to have on her team. I said, Ace, first of all, if I just saw everything there is about you, I'd be begging you to be a mission commander. And Ace has brought together a solid team, including Donald. But I look forward to meeting Ace, and Ace is going to make this a super, she's going to make a super impact on this whole program. And I'm so happy Ace has joined our team.
Don, thank you so much for that amazing introduction. Sometimes you just meet people, even if it's over the phone, and you just click. And you're one of those people. Our energies, I feel, are totally matched, and there isn't anything that either one of us can't do. So, hi, everybody. My name is Ace, and I'm a former missing persons incident commander. I have 64 certifications in search and rescue, law enforcement, and homeland security as well. And I'm the host of Bulletproof podcast, where I get to talk to many different kinds of amazing Americans, but mostly veterans and first responders. And I have an amazing team called Team Eagle. And our mission is to adopt a senior hero, to find veterans and first responders in our communities that are lacking a support system and take them under our wing. And Team Eagle, we have 7 members, including Brian and Dee Dee, Donald Dunn over here. And we're made up of veterans, first responders, and advocates. So the 7 of us are located nationally in different places across the country. We're just getting started, and I'll say a little bit about everyone. We have Brian right here, your host, Brian Roof. He's a former Marine and host of this show. We have Dee Dee, or Donald Dunn. He's a former 160th SOAR Night Stalker. He has an incredible career. He runs Veteran Voice Radio, and he also just wrote a book. So he'll tell you a little bit about that, I'm sure, in a few minutes. We have Derek Thompson. He is also a former Marine, a former firefighter, and a former EMT with an absolutely incredible and heartfelt story. We have Jason Steiner. I call him the mayor because when you guys get to meet Jason Steiner, he's probably listening. He has a very mayor-like personality, and he just has a way of bringing everybody together. But he's the founder of a wonderful organization called Hero Stock. And we also have a lovely lady named Betsy Ross. Betsy is an Army veteran. Jason is a former Marine as well, but Betsy Ross is a former Army veteran. She's written 4 books called Fight, Fight 1, Fight 2, Fight 3, and Fight 4. She's a very big advocate for veterans. We have Eric Mello, who is a veteran advocate and also a podcast host. He's very passionate about the 22 a day cause as well. So all of us together, all of us make up Team Eagle. So we're looking to find those senior heroes in our community and take them underneath our wing. A lot of them might not have anyone around, and we're looking to be that voice for them, to be a source of camaraderie, a source of friendship. And I believe that changing the world starts with one person at a time. And so if we can do that on a national level, we're hoping that that can snowball and inspire others on the show to go out and do the same thing.
Thank you, Ace. Thank you very much. Ace, would you like to introduce Donald? I know you did a little bit.
Sure. Donald Dunn is a very busy man, and I'm sure he'll tell you all about all of the different things he has going on right now. He has an absolutely incredible story, and I don't want to give too much away because I think he can say it better than me, but he is a former 160th Operations Night Stalker with an incredible story. Maybe he'll tell you about the time his helicopter crashed in the middle of enemy territory in Afghanistan without any way to defend himself. But he has an incredible story, and I'll pass it on to him from there.
I appreciate it, Ace. As she said, my name's Donald Dunn. I'm the CEO of Heroes Voice Media Foundation, and I served 20 years in the Army, 68 months deployed between Bosnia, Iraq, Afghanistan. I retired out of Third ID, so I'm familiar with that. But I started a podcast, and that's kind of where my sense of serving came from. We got about halfway, 3/4 of the way done through season 1, and I found therapy by just starting to talk to other veterans, things I wasn't even sharing with my family. And so as the podcast went on, I discovered other veterans that had a need of some help. They had put their dreams on hold to serve our country, and now that their careers are over with and they wanted to pick those dreams back up, they're now a little bit behind the power curve. So that's what Heroes Voice Media Foundation does. We've got a radio station that helps veterans that are trying to become in the music industry. There's 3 stations. We've got Simplify Country, Ranger Rock Wave, and Vet Mix. And all of them on there are either dependents of veterans or veterans. And they're all unsigned, out there working their butts off, trying to get known and make a career and put food on the table. We've got a program called Words for Warriors. It's for authors that are trying to document their stories and tell the world about our war and our generation. And then we've got our podcasting program called Military United Podcast Streams. And it's the same thing. It's about, everybody documenting their stories and reaching out and getting to know the community and making the veteran community a better place each day. And if they wanted to pursue a career, having somebody that's behind them and can help them, because we recognize the skills and the abilities of veterans. We're way more than just the, sticking a bottle and say break in case of war. At the end of the day, we don't want it to always be thought of that when you hear the word veteran, you think of mental health. We're way more than that. And I felt like that was networking was one of the things that I could do good. And I put a lot of effort into it, and I'm super proud to be a part of this, as well as continue on with our other mission, because I just want the community to be a better place.
Thanks so much, Donald. And I actually, my feeling right now is I'm in the company of heroes, the company of eagles, and I appreciate each and every one of you so much. I can't even tell you. This is what a breath of fresh air this is, just hearing all your stories. So I am really, really, truly grateful for each and every one of you. What my hope is, Brian and Ace, who both, and Donald, for those who have podcasts, for everybody on this program to be able to share their stories with other people, and to have a way for them to contact you. The mission, it's going to be formally announced in a couple of weeks, and we'll probably formally announce it in Las Vegas in a couple of weeks from now, when Jen and Seth will be there. But my hope is that 10 years from now, you're either on the mission, the TV show, the mission on the website, but maybe 10 years from now, we might have 1,000 missions going on in this world. And we're all part of, just a small part, but we are part of making this world a better place. And I know I'm in the company of people who can do that. And I really appreciate it. What I'd like to do, I'm sorry.
No. I was just gonna say, Don, it's appreciate you doing stuff like this. This is kind of how you got to start doing things, right? You can't boil an ocean, but you can start off in smaller increments, and you can start off with communities, right, and work our way out. Because there's a big problem in America anymore, and in the world in general, and a lack of people caring for each other, and it's all about me. And so, doing missions like this, it's a great way to start and get these communities with each other, breaking walls down, like you guys said, with the law enforcement. It's amazing, and this is a great start to how things can get better, right?
Yes. Yeah. I loved hearing everybody's mission and their ambition and what they want to do. I'd like to share mine with you as well. And mine is, all my life, people have been asking me, how do you climb a mountain, or how do you become a SEAL or a Ranger or a Delta Force or somebody? And I just stumble through the words and try to find out something that might sound like something they might accept. But after a while, it connected. And I got to meet the greatest triathlete in the world at one point. And before he won his first Ironman in Hawaii, I said to him, I said, Dave, how do you stay in such great shape? He said, well, Don, I work out every day. I don't take a day off. He went on to become the king of Kona, the greatest triathlete of all time. And but what his message to me was, don't take a day off. So I went 21 years without taking a day off from exercise. And it worked for me because I never got out of shape. And I was always able to do the things I love to do physically. But then when I started asking and responding to all these questions, how do you do whatever? I took Dave's advice to me, but I knew it was more than just exercise. And that my answer evolved a bit. So now what I say to young folks, and I love saying it to the really young folks, but I say it to 80-year-olds too, and it still works, is I believe every day, just do something to make yourself stronger. You pick it out. You might not need physical strength. How can you be a stronger father? How can you be a stronger leader? How can you be a stronger banker? But every day, just do something to make yourself stronger. Number one. Then I'll say number two, every day, do something to make yourself faster. If you're an athlete, do hill repeats, fartleks, sprints. In the pool, do sprints. If you can do 120 sit-ups in 2 minutes, do 122 the next day in 2 minutes. But get faster at everything. And if speed is not part of your lifestyle, change that word out to efficiency. How can I be more efficient at my work? So every day you're doing something to make yourself stronger and faster or more efficient. And then number three, if it is a SEAL you want to be, look what they've been doing. Underwater demolition team did in Normandy, how they cleared the way for the ships to come through the obstacles. Look what they did in Korea, and then Vietnam with the SEALs fighting the war in Vietnam for 10 years. And then look what, come up to present day Iraq and Afghanistan, the 90 countries they're operating in now. Learn about the weapons they're shooting, learn to skydive and learn to dive and learn about all this. Just get smarter in that category of what you want to do or your career goal. But most importantly, number one, stronger. Number two, faster. Number three, get smarter. But number four, do something good for somebody. And that's how this mission came about. Just go out and do something good for somebody. And I'm in the dark. That's why I'm using my cell phone for a flashlight. Sorry about that. But yeah, so if your neighbor's struggling carrying out the garbage, go carry out the garbage for him. If your mother needs help doing dishes, do the dishes or vacuum the floor. If your wife needs help, just do something good for somebody. So I started saying this for years and years. And then an older man wrote to me this past couple of weeks ago, and he said, I'm 72 now. I've been following that advice for years, and I'm still doing 120 push-ups a day before I take my shower. And he does his walks faster. So I'd like to share my mission with you all. And please feel free to tell me to go take a hike or to accept it. But now my mission is to say those 4 goals to you all and ask you to do it for 10 days. And then pass it on to 10 other people. And then if you want to, make a $10 donation to some charity, some church, some good cause. And then maybe, just maybe, in a couple of weeks, there's hundreds of people doing this. And this maybe after that, maybe there's thousands. And before we know it, look at all the charities that's going to get money. Look at all the people. We're a fat country, and we're not a smart country. We're pushing education, fitness, and good well-being and good, human relations back and forth. And when I tell these 10 and 12-year-old boys, I said, when you go to selection or you go to the police academy, or you go to Buds, you just might be the strongest person there. You might be the fastest. You might be the smartest. But most importantly, you're the guy everyone wants on the team because you're so used to doing things for people. So I love how that advice turned out. But now I'm thinking I'm going to task friends and coworkers and people I come across. Would you take this on would you accept this task? Would you pass this on to 10 people? Will you do it for 10 days and maybe make a $10 donation? And I think a lot of good can come out of it. It's my own mission. So thanks for listening to that. But I just wanted to make sure I pass that on to you all because it's kind of a challenge to you all too, by the way. Thanks for that.
I definitely like that better than the ice bucket challenge, so I'll go with it.
Well, the ice bucket challenge is what motivated me for that, because when Dean and I were working at Battle Frog, they had the ice bucket challenge. That made $200 million for ALS. $200 million. Yeah. So, but all it did was poured ice on your head. But this here is going to help make people get stronger, faster, and smarter, and do good things for people. It's going to be harder to convince people to do it, I know, but that's the most important thing I have going in my life right now is that my mission right there.
10 days. That's all you're asking.
Yeah, 10 days, invite 10 people, and maybe a $10 donation to your church or some charity, whatever you feel like. And I hope that list of charities is in the hundreds in a few months, and maybe the help that you've given people, maybe that list of people is in the hundreds in a few months, and everybody will become stronger and faster or more efficient in the meantime.
It'd be great if you could put it on the mission website for people to sign up having, and even what you could do is like have a person and have the web that they have created, each person somehow, just to see
that way you can see how it's touching. Yeah,
and see how the impact of one person can have.
Like a pledge.
Yeah.
But to see how the spider webs go out in all directions.
No, that's a great idea. And that's a good way to track it and see where it's going.
Yeah. Well, I can't tell you how much I enjoyed listening to everybody and you all being part of this. And what will happen, and Jen, what will happen is Will, who does all the website stuff, he is going to start building pages for each and every one of you and tracking your missions. And the mission I just stated, my own little mission, is we're going to track that. And we're also going to want to, keep track of what charities are being contacted and maybe start getting testimonials and videos from people doing your missions and people who accept this challenge. Hopefully you're going to challenge people and they'll, send you some information, some testimonials, some videos of what it's done for them. I told, it's so funny. I do these talks around the country, and I did this talk for a friend of mine who's a retired doctor. He's in his 90s. I said, Parker, they don't want to hear what I have to say. I'm pushing boundaries. What do they want to hear? So he said, come talk to them. Come talk to him. And when I was done, this little old lady, she came up to me, and she was 90-something years old, and there was a man behind her on oxygen and on a walker. And she said, I really liked your message. And now when we go to physical therapy, I'm going to make sure they push him harder in the morning. So I think the message works. I hope he survived that, But anyways.
No, you know what though? There's a huge appreciation for you, Don, and utmost respect, for everything that you've done for our country and you continue to strive to do, and I appreciate you bringing all of us together, and this is, we're all in different parts of the world too. We're on the West Coast, some of you guys are on the East Coast, some of you guys are over in the South. So it's amazing, that we're all coming together and everybody wants something better for this country, right? We all want better for our country. We all want better for our brothers, our sisters, everybody that's going through it. I mean, it's not just veterans. It's not just law enforcement. It's everybody's going through something nowadays. There's a lot going on, and the more that we can at least provide, a hand, something to grab on and pull them out of something, it helps. And so, I think doing this within the communities is a great way to start. And then as everybody starts seeing that these communities are thriving off of these kind of things, then that becomes contagious, right? And everybody else wants to start doing that.
Well, thank you, Brian. And your words are meant for every single person on this program, I know, because everybody here has done a lot for this country.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm more than honored to be here with every one of you guys and gals. You guys are amazing. And I appreciate you guys taking your time to continue to serve, because that's the thing is it's very selfless to continue to want to serve for others.
I get one asked on my show quite a bit. I always get asked, what do we got to do to fix the veteran community problems? And I think this is exactly how you do it. You stop isolating it as a veteran community problem, and you just go out there and you make the world a better place. And that solves a lot of the problems. And each person taking a little bit of a piece of that pie. I always remembered when I was in the regular Army, when we did police call, they always had everybody spread out, and they said NCOs to the back and double arm interviews, and everybody went and picked up the trash. And I kind of feel like, in a way, we're kind of police calling the earth. We're going to go through and fix a lot of things that fell through the cracks of programs and areas and communities and things that are just getting overlooked, and make it a better place for everybody, which in return makes it a better place for us. So that's what I like from what I've learned from this so far. And I think it is definitely going to spread, and it's definitely going to fix a lot of problems, and it's going to help a lot of people.
That's really the beauty as it spreads and involves more people. Each of those people are going to have their own individual twist, and that little individual twist is going to reach that next subset of society. And as it branches out more, it's just going to fill in all the cracks, like you were saying.
Yeah, I think that was a great analogy, Donald. And all of us, most of us on here probably have. If you've ever lost a sensitive item out in training, you got to get on double arm interval, and you're going to go find that piece of equipment. Trust me.
Right? Yeah.
So that's a great analogy.
Going up without it.
Exactly what we're doing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you very, very much for all of your time and your efforts. There'll be more coming for sure.
Absolutely. Does anybody have any last words they would like to say before we head out?
I just like to say it's really nice to meet those of you who I don't know. I know that you'll all become friends because you're our kind of people, and we really appreciate you.
Absolutely. I would absolutely love to have each and every one of you guys on my show individually to come out and talk more about your story and all that stuff. That's one reason why I started this platform, is I wanted to have a place where people can tell their stories and talk about things that, sometimes it's hard to talk about. And, I wish I would have had a lot of stories from World War veterans, a lot more stories from the Vietnam veterans. We can still get them. Why we can. And once you get these things recorded, it's there forever. And then people can look at this later down on the road and say, wow, these are some great stories. And we could actually hear the real stories, not just from a book, but from the words of the mouth of the people that experienced it, that were there.
Yeah, absolutely.
But once again, I think each and every one of you guys are all amazing. And thank you for wanting to do this mission. And Don, thank you so much for bringing us all together once again.
Thank you for having us all, Brian. And I guess you'll be sending us out a link to all this, right?
Absolutely. Yes, I will be sending everybody a link. And I'll be in contact with everybody for sure. But once again, thank you guys, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and start releasing everybody.
Yep.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Brian.
Good to see
you. All right, friends and fam, thank you guys so much for tuning in and watching. If you guys would like to check out all the episodes, you guys can check out EDASUSMCvet.com. This is an amazing mission. There are a lot of things out there. I'm very honored to be a part of the mission. Our particular mission is to, adopt a hero. I'm super excited about that. And I feel like there's a lot of people out there that need to understand that this generation appreciates everything that the generations before us have done for us. And thank you guys all once again. I hope you guys have an amazing day. You know how I say it. Don't let the day kick your ass. Make sure you're out there kicking it. Until next time, we'll see you guys.